Welcome to Get to the Point. My name is James Cordwell. In today's program, I take a quick look at the enigma that is the New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo, who has recently resigned from his position in light of allegations of improper behavior substantiated by the state's Attorney General's investigation that he sexually harassed multiple women. Now, the fact that he finally resigned isn't a big surprise. What is surprising, though, is how long it took and what occurred prior to his resignation, and has continued even after his resignation was offered. For much of last year, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo was perhaps the most trusted Democratic politician in America. His daily televised coronavirus briefings, accompanied by a slick PowerPoint slide presentation, made him the golden boy of Democratic leaders, admired in his home state and far beyond. The New York City-born Cuomo began his political career as a top campaign advisor to his father, that's Mario Cuomo, who served 3 years as New York governor from 1983 to 1994. After a stint as a prosecutor and lawyer, Andrew Cuomo joined President Bill Clinton's administration and eventually became U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. He also married into a political dynasty when he wed Kerry Kennedy in 1990, although they would divorce sometime later in 2005. Cuomo's brother, Chris, is a high-profile anchor for CNN. After his power grew, Cuomo built a reputation as an ambitious and ruthless politician who was willing to retaliate against perceived enemies and whose abrasive style in private often alienated others. Earlier this year, Cuomo called a state assemblyman, as Ron Kim, who had criticized the governor over the nursing home crisis and threatened to attack him publicly, according to Kim. Cuomo would do just that a week later at a news briefing. Cuomo's first foray into statewide politics went poorly when he lost the Democratic gubernatorial nomination in 2002, despite strong fundraising. In 2006, he successfully, though, ran for Attorney General, leading some Democratic politicians to label him the state's comeback kid. He was largely viewed as an ideological centrist. In 2018, he beat back a liberal challenge from Sex and the City actor Cynthia Nixon, though he has shifted left, if not far left, in recent years with the rest of the Democratic Party. As his power grew, Cuomo built a reputation as an ambitious and ruthless politician who was willing to retaliate against any perceived enemies and whose abrasive style in private often alienated others. Earlier this year, Cuomo called a state assemblyman, Ron Kim, who had criticized the governor over the nursing home crisis and threatened to attack him publicly, according to Kim. Cuomo, though, would do just that a week later at a news briefing. His year-long feud with liberal New York City Mayor de Blasio gave the city's tabloids plenty of fodder, from the serious to the ridiculous. In 2016, the pair fought over the fate of a wayward deer that had found its way into Manhattan. When the deer died, each administration blamed the other. At times, their animosity caused confusion during the pandemic too. In the spring of 2020, de Blasio announced city schools would close for the rest of the year, only to be corrected by Cuomo, who said only the governor had the authority to do so. Now, Cuomo weathered other political scandals. In 2014, he disbanded an anti-corruption panel only 9 months after he convened it himself, triggering a U.S. Justice Department inquiry. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan eventually concluded there was insufficient evidence at that time to show any crimes had occurred. But this time, Cuomo, the comeback kid, won't be able to dodge his responsibilities. The scandal erupted in February when 2 former aides accused the governor of sexually harassing them. Several other women then came forward soon after with their own accounts of misconduct. In a glassy televised remark, Cuomo yet again denied all the sexual harassment accusations and made it clear he had no intention of resigning.
Over the past several months, you have heard a number of complaints brought against me. I called for an independent review, and I said at the beginning I would let the process unfold. I didn't want anyone to say that I interfered. I said I would hold my tongue, and I have, making only limited comments. It has been a hard and a painful period for me and my family, especially as others feed ugly stories to the press. But I cooperated with the review, and I can now finally share the truth. My attorney, who is a non-political former federal prosecutor, has done a response to each allegation, and the facts are much different than what has been portrayed. That document is available on my website. If you are interested, please take the time to read the facts and decide for yourself. First, I want you to know directly from me that I never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. I am 63 years old. I've lived my entire adult life in public view. That is just not who I am, and that's not who I have ever been.
Accompanied by yet another series of images showing a smiling Cuomo comforting a range of men and women, Cuomo said it was all innocent. He said accusations that he inappropriately touched and kissed women were simply, misunderstandings. On Tuesday, however, the state attorney general released a scathing report that found Cuomo had sexually harassed multiple women, retaliated against at least one of the victims for making her complaint public, and created a toxic workplace culture of fear and intimidation.
Independent investigation has concluded that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women and in doing so violated federal and state law. Specifically, the investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature that created a hostile work environment for women. The investigators independently corroborated and substantiated these facts through interviews and evidence, including contemporaneous notes and communications. This evidence will be made available to the public along with the report. This investigation was started after a number of women publicly alleged that they had been sexually harassed by Governor Cuomo. They reviewed more than 74,000 pieces of evidence, including documents, emails, texts, audio files, and pictures. These interviews and pieces of evidence reveal a deeply disturbing yet clear picture. Governor Cuomo sexually harassed current and former state employees in violation of both federal and state laws. The independent investigation found that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of whom were young women, by engaging in unwanted groping, kisses, hugging, and by making inappropriate comments. Further, the governor and his senior team took actions to retaliate against at least one former employee for coming forward with her story, her truth. And Governor Cuomo's administration fostered a toxic workplace that enabled harassment and created a hostile work environment where staffers did not feel comfortable coming forward with complaints about sexual harassment due to a climate of fear and given the power dynamics. This investigation has revealed conduct that corrodes the very fabric and character of our state government and shines light on injustice that can be present at the highest levels of government. But none of this would have been illuminated if not for the heroic women who came forward.
The 5-month investigation launched by Attorney General Letitia James, a fellow Democrat no less, deepened a stunning fall for grace for Cuomo, who has gone from a National Democratic Party leader, aka President-in-waiting, to a political pariah in the span of just a few months. Prominent members of his own party previously called on him to step down, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, New York's senior U.S. Senator, and almost the entire state congressional delegation. Even a day or so ago, the U.S. President stated enough was enough and said Cuomo should resign.
Back in March, you said that if the investigation confirmed the allegations against Governor Cuomo, then he should resign. So will you now call on him to resign, given the investigators said the 11 women were credible?
I stand by that statement.
Are you now calling on him to resign?
Yes.
And if he doesn't resign, do you believe he should be impeached and removed from office?
Let's take one thing at a time here. I think he should resign. State legislature may decide to impeach. I don't know that for a fact. I've not read all that data.
And he's using a photo of you embracing him in his self-defense to say that these are commonplace kind of embraces that he made and the allegations against him. Do you condone that?
Look, I'm not going to fly-spec this. I'm sure there are some embraces that were totally innocent. But apparently the Attorney General decided there were things that weren't.
You're calling for him to resign now. My question is, do you think he should be prosecuted? And what is your message to the women who have now accused him of sexually harassing them and abusing them?
Look, what I said was, if the investigation of the Attorney General concluded that the allegations are correct, that back in March, that I would recommend he resign. That's what I'm doing today. I've not read the report. I don't know the detail of it. All I know is the end result.
State lawmakers in Albany, where the Democrats hold a legislative majority, have opened their own probe into Cuomo's behavior as part of a potential impeachment inquiry. Carl Heastie, the Democratic Speaker of the State Assembly, said that the report's description of Cuomo's behavior reflected someone who's not fit for office.
Now, with the Attorney General's task completed, the Assembly is working to expeditiously conclude our investigation, which covers a broad range of issues, so that we can bring this sad chapter of our state's history to a conclusion. As I stated last week, the governor has clearly lost the confidence of the majority members of the New York State Assembly. The Attorney General's report lays out in painful detail the many instances and ways in which he reportedly harassed and created a hostile work environment for the employees of the executive chamber and others he came in contact with.
His resignation has finally come, but the proceedings haven't yet concluded.
The Attorney General did a report on complaints made against me by certain women for my conduct. The report said I sexually harassed 11 women. That was the headline people heard and saw and reacted to. The reaction was outrage. It should have been. However, it was also false. My lawyers, as you just heard from Rita Glavin, have reviewed the report over the past several days and have already raised serious issues and flaws that should concern all New Yorkers. Because when there is a bias or a lack of fairness in the justice system, it is a concern for everyone, not just those immediately affected. The most serious allegations made against me had no credible factual basis in the report. And there is a difference between alleged improper conduct and concluding sexual harassment. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not to say that there are not 11 women who I truly offended. There are. And for that, I deeply, deeply apologize. I thought a hug and putting my arm around a staff person while taking a picture was friendly, but she found it to be too forward. I kissed a woman on the cheek at a wedding, and I thought I was being nice, but she felt that it was too aggressive. I have slipped and called people honey, sweetheart, and darling. I meant it to be endearing, but women found it dated and offensive. I said on national TV to a doctor wearing PPE and giving me a COVID nasal swab, "You make that gown look good." I was joking. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have said it on national TV. But she found it disrespectful. I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I've been since I can remember. In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn. There are generational and cultural shifts that I just didn't fully appreciate. And I should have. No excuses. But I want to thank the women who came forward with sincere complaints. It's not easy to step forward, but you did an important service. And you taught me, and you taught others an important lesson. Personal boundaries must be expanded and must be protected. I accept full responsibility. Now, you know me. I'm a New Yorker, born and bred. I am a fighter. And my instinct is to fight through this controversy because I truly believe it is politically motivated. I believe it is unfair and it is untruthful. And I believe it demonizes behavior that is unsustainable for society. This is one of the most challenging times for government in a generation. Government really needs to function today. Government needs to perform. It is a matter of life and death, government operations. And wasting energy on distractions is the last thing that state government should be doing. And I cannot be the cause of that. New York tough means New York loving. And I love New York. And I love you. And everything I have ever done has been motivated by that love. And I would never want to be unhelpful in any way. And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do, because I work for you. And doing the right thing is doing the right thing for you. Because as we say, it's not about me, it's about we. Kathy Hochul, my lieutenant governor, is smart and competent. This transition must be seamless. We have a lot going on. I'm very worried about the Delta variant, and so should you be. But she can come up to speed quickly, and my resignation will be effective in 14 days.
So he was forced into a resignation, still claiming his innocence. I trust it's not just me that finds this all a bit bemusing. The fact that a state attorney general took 4 months to investigate and clearly stated that the governor has a case to answer, if not guilty, should have meant an immediate sacking, perhaps not a resignation. Apparently, it's not that easy in the States to remove a sitting governor, and impeachment could take months more. So Governor Cuomo decided to control his departure by giving himself a handover period. The fact that a 4-month investigation had corroborated the evidence against him notwithstanding, he then continued to mount a public defense, using his office and his global media reach to state his innocence once again. Would this opportunity be given to other people found guilty of in similar situations? I think not. Even though the President of the United States had called for his resignation previously, the President himself seemed, well, reluctant to really condemn Governor Cuomo's behaviour.
His announcement that he's stepping down, you called on him to resign. Did you think he would?
I respect the governor's decision, and I respect the decision he made.
How would you assess his 10.5 years as governor of the state?
In terms of his personal behavior or what he's done as a governor?
What he's done as a governor.
I thought he's done a hell of a job. And I mean, both on everything from access to voting to infrastructure, to a whole range of things. That's why it's so sad.
So it's sad that he's had to resign, and the President respects the decision the governor has made. Doesn't the President realise he has shown no understanding at all about what has just happened? We can understand that a man in a position of authority has had to step down, but should that be a matter of sadness and respecting his decision based on the charges? Now, these charges against this governor have been substantiated now. What about respecting the women involved, the victims? What has made matters far worse, for me at least, is that the governor continues to mount a very public, and for the victims, no doubt, a very embarrassing defence of his actions. On the very same stage that Governor Cuomo just used to explain and again defend his decision to resign, the governor sent out his attorney, who attacked the women's evidence against him.
Good morning. My name is Rita Glavin, and I represent Governor Andrew Cuomo. My team has looked through the records for November, and we're aware of no record indicating that Brittany Camiso was at the mansion in November on any other day than November 16th. And Ms. Camiso has consistently said this occurred in November. Why did the investigators not get the records, and why did they not include them in the report? Lindsay Boylan made some tweets December 5th and December 13th that talked about her departure from the mansion and accused the governor of sexual harassment. One of the things that she said in an article she published on Medium in February, a couple months later, is that she was on a plane with the governor and he made a comment about, hey, let's play strict poker. There were several other staff members on the flights with Ms. Boylan, and every single one of them said, that didn't happen. It is important to know that any claim that he was grooming this young woman who is a sexual assault victim or the had a romantic interest in her could not be further from the truth. Governor made a joke to the doctor in the hospital gown, protected against COVID while she gave him a test. And he said in front of the whole world, you make that gown look good. That's not sexual harassment. I don't know why that was included in the Attorney General's report, except to say it was to add another number and to make the governor look bad. It said a number of former and current executive chamber staff, particularly the senior staff, as well as state troopers with the protection detail, denied having witnessed or experienced any conduct by the governor that could be characterized as sexual or otherwise inappropriate. That sentence is buried at the end, and of the over 1,000 footnotes, why didn't they cite the transcripts? Why didn't they quote from those people? Did what those people have to say bear upon any of the allegations that they included? The governor deserved to have a fulsome and balanced report that laid it all out. But the report doesn't identify who the witnesses were, what they said, and what they were asked.
So the governor uses his state authority to mount an attack on the women involved and effectively casting doubt on the state attorney general's own investigation. This has got to be wrong. Will we see the women on the same stage? Will they get their chance, via lawyers perhaps, to state their case? It would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Is this a misuse of position of authority? Is he guilty or not? Has he crossed the line or not?
Cuomo has continued to raise money for a possible 2022 re-election bid, though he has not yet formally announced whether he will seek a fourth term. Surely that's just a dream now. His coronavirus briefings last year, often carried live by nearly every US television network, became, well, appointment television at a time when President Donald Trump was trying to reassure the public and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, well, he was confirmed to his bunker in the Delaware home. Still, Cuomo faced some criticism for not closing down the state sooner, certainly from Democrats at least, as well as scrutiny over whether his administration sought to conceal the extent of the many, many nursing home deaths. Cuomo has defended his response to the pandemic and denied any wrongdoing with respect to the dire death statistics.
So the comeback kid is still claiming innocence and using his office position to state his case. Impeachment processes are still ongoing, and I wonder if that might mean criminal prosecution could eventually follow. Who knows? This seems to me to be a case of the mighty figures in authority having protections that the rest of us simply don't have. A case of misuse of position. It does seem unfair, at least to the women who have bravely come forward to make their case for justice. We can only watch and observe. Well, that's all the time I have for this episode of Get to the Point. Cuomo finally resigns, well, sort of. My name is James Cordwell, reporting to you for Love World UK.